Hello guys, kindly check this application out. Now in this project, we're going to call an API, add a spinner, and handle errors. For instance, when we run our project, you can see the spinner. Now, should we have an error? What do you do? Let's check that out. Now, when we go to the API, then we make an error there. Let's run it. It says what? Sorry, something went wrong. So guys, this is what we're going to do in this project. If you want to type along with me, kindly install the following. 1. npm install Axios and 2. npm install UUID. With all said and done, let's begin. Thank you very much. To begin, let's go to our SRC folder and create two files, one assets and the other one components. Now the assets folder, let's create another folder and call it spinner. And inside the spinner, let's get our loading GIF. So our loading GIF is ready. So that is that for the assets folder. Now with the components folder, I'll close this. In the components folder, let's get a file and call it fetchapi.js. So that is that. So inside that array fce. Instead of ordinary div, why don't we make it react.fragment? So we change that to react.fragment. Inside that we have a section. Then inside a section we have a div to say hello. Let's link that to the app.js to view on the screen. So we go to app.js, call fetch API. Okay, now let's import it. Import fetch API from components. Yeah, so that is that. Let's check our screen if we get hello on the screen. You can see guys, we got hello on the screen, means we're ready to go. So to begin, let's position everything since it's mobile first. Let's close the app.js. Then instead of the hello, let's use this div as a container. So we take the hello off and give it a class name and say, so we say bg white width auto, height 96, pattern bottom 20, mx5, mt40. So that is our container right now. Let's get the header section. So we say header section. Let's create a div for that. Div. Good. Then inside that, let's have p tag. And inside that we have a header. It's a load API. Good. Let's give that a class name. So over here inside the p tag we say uppercase font bold text through Excel text center. Now inside the div, let's give that a class name. So over there too we say height 28, flex justify center, item center, and some shadow. So that is that. Header is ready. Now let's go to the next one, which is the body section. So over here we say body section. So body section, let's create a div for that. So we say div. Now over here, let's create another div to handle the body. Good. So now our focus is to get the API. So the first thing to do is to get use state and use effect. So we import use state and use effect. So next thing to do is get our state ready. So we say const photo state, comma set photo state equals use state. So that is that for the load getting the state. So we say we can then comment it and say handle state. Okay, so over here inside the state we need initial values. So we say inside that we say let loading be false. The photos should give it an empty array, and the error message, let's give an empty string. So that is that for the handling of state. Now let's call the API using use effect. So we can give it and say call API. Good. So our use effect ready. Good. Now we're going to use asynchronous method using try and catch. So what we're going to do is we say const fetch data in equals what asynchronous, which gives us a function. Now inside the function, let's call try and catch. Good. So in our try and catch, what we're going to do is let's give it let me arrange it this way. Good. So the try, first thing to do is what? Load spinner. So we say load spinner. So to load the spinner, we say set photo state, give us the state back, which is our photo state back, then make the loading true. So the next thing to do after that is to what? Load the data. Load the data. So load the data. First thing to do is to get our URL. So we say const data URL equals what? This is our URL nicely using the backtick. So our URL is ready. So next thing to do is to call. So we say const response equals what? Await dot issues dot get the data URL. So we need to import our issues that we have installed. So let's call issues. So we go up and say over here and say import Axios from Axios. So that is solved for us. So we go back and say, so what do we do next? Good. We set photo state again. Then we say give us the photo state back. Then this time make the photos to be what? Response.data. Then make the loading false. You can see when the spinner was loading, we made the loading true. So over here we're going to make the loading false. So the data now goes to the what? The photos. Good. Now, so that is that with the loading. Now, should it have an error? What do we do? Good. We're going to do a similar thing. Set photo state, give us the photo state back. Loading is still going to be false, and the error message give it before it was empty. So give it a what? Sorry, something went wrong. So finally, we can go up. You see the fetch data console. Now let's call the function fetch data. So over here we can say fetch data. So you can see, guys, so next thing to do is to console.log our state. So in order not to say photo state dot loading, photo state dot error message, photo state dot photos, what we're going to do is to what? To structure it and say console loading error message and photos equals what? Photo state. So finally we can say console.log loading, then console.log photos, console.log error message. So now let's go to our inspection and say console. Good. So now let's run it and see. You can see, guys, we got data. We got data here. Loading false and photos got data. Error message is also empty. Guys, that is it. So next thing to do is to display the data in the body section. So over here we're going to use mapping. So over here, let's close this. So inside the body section, we set up our GSS. Then say photos.map into bracket. Let's create item which gives us a return, a div, and the div, inside the div we have what? A p tag, which is when we say items dot id. Okay, so that will give us all the data. Now it's going to complain because it has no key. So inside the div over here we give it a key. Now the key, we need to import the key UUID. So let's go up and import the key. So over here we say import v4 as UUID v4 from UUID. So that is that. Let's call the UUID inside the div. So this is the div. So over here we say key equals UUID v4 function. So that is that. The container, let's make the container auto. The height should be auto so that it can take all the data. Okay, so over here we say height. Let's make it min height. So let me do it this way. Mean height 96. Good. So I think that solves this. So mean height is 96. So that solves that. So what's next is to get our spinner. Okay. To get our spinner. So we go down, then say, good. But before the spinner, let's create a condition for this data. Okay. So over here we can create a div up there. Then inside that we can have our GSS again. Then say if it's not loading and photos dot length is greater than 0 before you display the this in the what's the name, the mapping. So we copy this, we cut this map div. You can see, guys, cut it, then come and put it there. Good. So we got it now. Let me rearrange it. Good. So that is that, guys. It's just the same thing, but just a condition comes before the mapping div. So that is that. Now next thing is to create the spinner as we're saying. So with the spinner, we're going to create another. So inside the body section, we create another JSX to handle the spinner. So over here we say, good. So we say if it's loading, then display spinner. Okay, so we can say the spinner, let's give it we can say a div. Okay, so let's say div. So we can give it a div. Then inside the div, what do we need? We need the img tag. Okay, so we say img, then src. The src equals what? Let's call it spinner. Spinner is an alt name. Alt equals also what? Spinner. Now let's import the spinner. Okay, so we go up, then say, so we say import spinner from assets from spinner, then loading give. So that is that. Can't see the spinner. Can't see the spinner. What is missing? What is missing? img tag is not closed. Sorry, guys. Good. Good. You can see, guys, we got a spinner. We got our spinner. So what we're gonna do is to give this spinner loading spinner div. Let's give it some class name. So over here I can say height 80, flex justify send item sender. So that is that, guys. Our spinner is working now. Now next thing to do is to get the error message. Should there be an error, what should be done? So over here, the same body section, let's create another GSS. Then inside that, you can copy everything here. Copy everything, the div and the loading. Copy everything, just put it there. Good. Then this time we're going to say the condition is loading and no, not loading. So we're going to say not loading. If it's not loading, and what? Error message. Okay, error message. Good. Error message dot length is greater than 0 and okay, then display the what is it? No, this is not going to be the error message, so let's give it a p tag. P tag. Good. Then inside that we call our error message. So here we say error message. Good. So you can see, guys, we go the error message. Let's go to, let me review it. So this is the error message we are calling. It's going to say sorry, something went wrong. So that is that. Now should we this is the API. Let's take the S off the API and see, guys. So you can see sorry, something went wrong. So let's just add some CSS to this p tag. So over here we say test through Excel and test word 500. So that is that. When we run it again, you can see, guys, sorry, something went wrong. So let's go back to our API. Let's make it work. Let's put it back, the S back. You can see, guys. Good. Oh, sorry. Let me run it. You can see, guys, our app is working. So that is that, guys. Finally, let's make our app responsive. Then we can say cheers. So to do that, let's go to the container where we did the BG container, the BG white container. Over here, we can add more classes and say at small screen, make the width full. At medium screen, make the width 4/5. And the same medium screen, make the width MX auto. And at large screen, make the width 2/5. And at the same large screen, make the width, make the MS auto. So that is that, guys. Finally, when we expand it, you can see our app is responsive. So that is that, guys. Thank you so much for sticking through. Please don't forget to do good. Catch you in the next one. We say peace.